Hello and welcome to the Paper Boys podcast, where we review the biggest stories of the week. Check out our website at thepaperboys.net to read about these stories as soon as they happen. If you're coming back to see us, thanks for coming back. If this is your first time, welcome. This is going to be a lot shorter week, I believe. Not as many stories this week. Kind of a down week in the world of news. Starting off, when was that? 24th. So that was last Friday. Last Sunday? When was McGregor fight? What was the 24th? Today's the 30th.
6 days ago would make today.
Friday.
So yeah.
Friday night. Last Friday night. Conor McGregor lost. That was a pretty big shock to me, at least.
And not only did he lose, he lost by KO,
right? In second
which is
round.
the only time he's ever been knocked out, I believe.
Was it?
I think that was his first knockout loss.
That sounds right, actually. I'm thinking of the one where he fought Floyd Mayweather, but that doesn't really count. It was kind of a exhibition type deal there, because he's not a boxer.
So it's interesting because I didn't know who Dustin Poirier was, and I don't follow the UFC, but I do know who McGregor was. So, I hear McGregor in a fight, and I think, oh yeah, he'll win.
Yeah.
Just every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody expected him to win. I don't know what the actual odds were. But for him to get taken down that fast, he said, McGregor has been quoted saying, "I have no excuse. It was a phenomenal performance from Dustin. It's a bitter pill to swallow." But he's been very sportsmanlike with it. He hasn't said anything, no trash talking or anything. He's been very respectable, which is kind of surprising because I think I remember McGregor being kind of crazy. Is that right?
Yeah, he's really calmed down here lately, though. Like, he used to be super arrogant and really
Didn't he have like a few arrests or something?
Yeah, he kind of went
weird.
Yeah, it was his first fight in a while too, I believe. He retired for. He's done it about 5 times, but.
Well, if you earn as much as he most likely does, you probably don't have to fight that much.
Yeah.
Do we know if he has anything else coming up, or was that it?
I'm sure he wants to fight him again. He wants a rematch with him. And there's been talk about a Jake Paul Conor McGregor fight. So
and this isn't posted or anything, but that reminds me of is it Logan or Jake that's trying to go
Logan's
against?
fighting Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. I'm excited to see those. I don't know. I think it's all kind of dumb because it's very unprofessional, but I'm ready to see them. Just see what happens. I'm not going to call anything now and be wrong, but let's move on to a more political story. The Senate has confirmed Antony Blinken, I believe it's how it's pronounced, to be Secretary of State for the Biden administration. He will reportedly have a more open approach to foreign policy rather than the previous administration's America First. And I believe that was quoted from CNN itself.
I've never heard of him.
I don't know who he is either, honestly. But I'm more interested in the more open approach to foreign policy rather than the America First policy. What does that mean? Because this has something to do with, I don't want to link it to the Iran deal or anything, but more focusing on other countries in a helpful, trying to help them instead of, I guess, isolating us against everyone else.
Yeah. He was a senator at one time. 1 term in the Senate. He was a diplomat. Trying to figure out where. No, so I guess that explains a lot of the reason he was selected as the foreign official. So I guess he knows a thing or two about foreign relations.
That's good. I don't really know anything about foreign relations, so I do like. I don't want the administration to go too far focused on helping all these other countries when there's obvious concerns here.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that we're supposed to be the first world power. What is our slogan? Fighting terrorism and communism, basically. Or I don't know what it is. Like, we fight for democracy, essentially. But I don't want us to get too focused on everybody else's democracies when ours is split, to say the least.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the not America first approach? At least it being different from Trump's might mean something.
Yeah, it's almost really polar opposites coming from the Trump campaign. I guess they strive to do whatever Trump didn't do. But I'm not a fan of it. I think I agree with the America first
notion.
Approach. I think it's a good thing to put American citizens first above other countries. I mean, it just makes sense.
And this isn't to be like taken out of proportion. Like, we know they're gonna focus on their own country as president, but specifically the Secretary of State will be focusing on everybody else but us, which is their job. Yeah. So, I mean, as long as he stays focused on what he should be doing to help America, I'm all for it.
Yep.
And we don't really know his background too well. He doesn't seem to be the most popular or famous person, so that could be a good thing.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a more controversial story. I'll let you.
Okay, the Biden campaign reportedly received $145 million in dark money donations. The whereabouts of the money's origin are obscured, leaving voters wondering where the money came from and who donated it. Dark money has been a topic for years, as voters should know who is funding campaigns. It was the Campaign Legal Center said it was a serious threat to our democracy and the most toxic force in politics was how Issue 1 described it. And I agree with that. I mean, we should know where the money's coming from.
This wasn't put in the article, but the Trump campaign received $32 million in dark money. So I can understand people wanting to be anonymous. Yeah. They don't want other people to know who they're supporting. Mm-hmm. But going from $32 million to that's 4 times that plus, it's kind of sketchy. I mean, dark money just sounds sketchy in general. Yeah. It doesn't have a very good reputation is what I'm just trying to say.
Uh-huh.
And I think part of this is this money was coming from a lot of the big corporations.
Mm-hmm.
And people want to know what corporations put money towards which campaigns, which would allow boycotts if we did find out that money, the information.
And they said Apple, Amazon, and Facebook all had a record donations in this election cycle. So,
and this 145 million broke all kinds of records as well.
A lot of money to not know where it came from.
I wonder if any of that money, if they count that as like overseas or anything. Because I mean, if I don't want to get into like conspiracy theories, but if some other country wanted to support Biden over Trump and donated millions of dollars, I mean, I feel like we should know that.
Yeah, that's almost sounds like along the lines of election interference, which is
illegal.
Yeah.
And unconstitutional and just immoral in general. Unfair. But both campaigns are allowed to receive dark money as well. So, I mean, Trump could have received that $145 million or any other candidate. The fact that it's Biden doesn't really mean anything. It's more of about the voters don't know.
Uh-huh.
The average person has no idea what corporations they should support at all.
Yeah.
And we were talking today, I read the comment or article maybe that was saying politics and business don't mix. It will always hurt it. And I think that's probably why this money is kept so dark, because if $145 million came from all these businesses, I mean, half the country would boycott all of them if they weren't happy with the election results.
Yeah. I guess we can move on to a hot topic right now. And if you haven't heard about this already, you're either living under a rock or just don't follow politics / the market at all.
If you haven't heard about this yet, then you're probably not listening to this.
Yeah. The Gamestop stock has a stellar month, climbing almost 900%, and this was written on January 26th. I think the biggest spike came on the 27th, the day after, actually. So I'm not sure what that percent is, but it's got to be a lot higher than that. Strangely enough, the rise is accredited to online community Reddit subreddit r/Wall Street Bets. What started as a joke led to a major overvaluation, making some serious cash for some shareholders. Currently, the stock is being considered a major bubble with a tank soon imminent.
And the tank came, but it didn't come because of a sell-off. It came because people couldn't buy it anymore, which we do touch on later. So let's talk about this when it was happening, and we'll move to what's happened now later, because we have the other story.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to the impeachment deal, or you want to stay on this for now?
Well, we can just say one thing for now. When it was first happening, it really was almost a joke.
Yeah.
But it wasn't exactly a joke. People were serious about it, but they didn't expect it to go anywhere. They didn't expect it to work.
Yeah.
And maybe, I guess we will move on, because there's a lot to talk about with that, and we'll get to it.
45 Republican senators voted on January 27th to dismiss the impeachment vote, forecasting an almost certain second acquittal. 5 Republicans voted against the dismissal: Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Ben Sasse, Mitt Romney, and Pat Toomey. The usuals. The 45 senators who voted for dismissal deemed the trial unconstitutional, being Trump is no longer in office. If this vote is what the real impeachment vote will resemble, the vote would be about 55 to 45, leaving those in favor 12 votes short of the 67 vote conviction threshold. And that could either grow, that number could grow, and it could go down, because those 5 just voted to stop it how it is now without hearing any evidence or anything. So
what you're saying is, what is the majority called?
It's a supermajority.
Supermajority, which is how many votes? They need 67. and they've only got 45, or is it 45 that says no?
45 are saying no, so they have 55. If this is how the vote ended today, it would be 55-45, and he would be acquitted again.
So what are their chances? Are we expecting the votes for it to go up or down when evidence is revealed?
I would say down. Those 5 they're called rhinos. Rhino Republicans in name only. So I wouldn't throw out the option of them leaning with the Democrats and voting to convict, but for vote's sake, they'll probably go whatever, no, So it doesn't really matter. If 45 voted to stop it right here, I don't see any of those 45 going another way, even with any evidence. I mean,
if it was substantial evidence was incriminating.
What are they going to bring? This is all, remember what this is. This is about incitement of insurrection.
That's right.
So all they have to look at is what the tweets. And people have already based their opinions off that already. So I don't see any of those 45 going another way. It may grow to 47 before it's over. The chances of a conviction, I would say 2%.
Yeah, I could see a few people getting swayed, but going from 55 to 67 is a lot.
Yeah, that's 12 other.
And this is important because nobody's lobbying right now, are they?
No.
Nobody's worried about re-election.
Yeah. And the 45, the reason this story was put out is those 45 said that this isn't right. He's already out of office. Now he's a private citizen. The vote is to remove him from office. So the whole motivation behind it is to keep him from running again. So if they had the 67, they would hold another vote, which would be a simple majority of 51, and that would keep him from running again. But they're 12 short, like we said, at least.
I don't know. I'm going to say that there's a very, very small chance, but I don't see it happening.
No.
Like, maybe somebody's got some real good dirt, but I don't think there is. I did see one rebuttal to the whole, he's out of office idea, like, the quote that I saw said, I don't remember what the trials were. It starts with an N. I can't remember exactly, but World War II was over, but they still convicted, all the war crime people afterwards. So people are relating that to this, which I don't think is fair, but just because he's out of office already, people still want... I'm trying to think of the word. Not responsibility. I don't know that. What's the word I'm trying to think of?
Accountability?
Yes. People still want the accountability of what he did, even if he's already out.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. But the chances of it happening, we'll say, what a percentage? What do you think? 5?
Less than 5.
Less
I said
than
2
5.
earlier. I'd even say less than 2. Those 45 are pretty strong leaning Trump Republicans. So the chances of it going anywhere are slim to none.
And I feel like, we did say that nobody's lobbying for votes, but people don't want to misrepresent their own people. So, I mean, the people who voted them in, or the people representing the people that voted them, have responsibility of voting what their people want, not necessarily what they want.
Yeah.
And I think that alone will keep a supermajority from honestly ever happening with something as trivial as this.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're on the juicy stuff. This is what's been going on for the past week. There has been no major news, anything this week. There's been nothing going on except this one story. And it's multiple stories all under the same thing going on right now. I'll let you read it as well.
Robinhood app under fire after forcing users to sell stocks that have seen massive gains due to r/Wall Street Bets forum. Today, Robinhood restricted its users, today being January 28th, purposely blocking independent users from buying certain stocks when other brokers and especially hedge funds still have access. Robinhood has now released a statement that these stocks will have limited but available buy options starting tomorrow, but the damage has already been done. Lawsuits are coming.
Okay, so this is specifically about the Robinhood app, which is a brokerage app for the stock market, but this goes so much farther than just Robinhood. And this is what's relating back to the GameStop story. So if we want to start with square one, I remember about a year ago on Reddit, somebody was just poking fun about how GameStop's going to explode. Fast forward a full year, and this forum, they were seeing how these massive hedge funds were purposefully driving the price of GameStop down in order to make back, I'm not going to give a number, but enormous amounts of money at the expense of GameStop as a company. Because of this, I mean, at the time was large forum, but now it's doubled in size over the past week. They banded together to raise the stock price. I don't know how to explain shorting. You have any clue on how to explain it to an average person? Because I honestly don't know how it works, but I do know the consequences. So, when you're stock trading, there are multiple different ways you can do it. One way is shorting, which is basically where you place a bet that at the time of you making that bet, the stock price of that company will be lower in the future. And this, through some process, will make you back enormous gains. However, if the stock price goes up, you will then have to pay enormous amounts of money. So, Wall Street Bets noticed that these enormous hedge funds were banking on this GameStop company to just go into the ground, and they were causing it to go bankrupt. So everybody at once is buying the stock and holding it. Nobody's selling it. Everybody's buying as much stock as possible, driving the GameStop stock up 900% and more of the past week. What was the hedge fund already that's lost $13 billion because of this?
It went bankrupt because of it. They lost $13.1 billion was the last number I saw that they had lost already.
So, essentially, people have driven the price so high that these hedge funds cannot afford to pay to own these stocks at this price, causing them to have to file for bankruptcy. And it's turning into a war between not just Reddit, but average people and Wall Street. Mm-hmm. Wall Street has been singled out as, the 1%, blah, blah, blah. And this is an active, way of defying their money to make more money purposes. Robinhood specifically has gotten a bunch of lawsuits now because when all this was happening, they made it so that you can no longer trade GME, aka the GameStop stock, but you could sell, which meant that people were not allowed to buy that day, causing the stock price to go down a massive amount. And now there are multiple lawsuits about market manipulation. Do you know any details?
About the lawsuits, or about what in specific?
Just the market manipulation accusation, whether that's really substantial or not.
I don't know. I mean, what are the laws against that? Do you have any idea? Against market manipulation?
The purposeful changing of a stock price or limiting buying and selling one way or another is illegal. The SEC or whatnot has multiple guidelines about this. But Robinhood, I don't know if they count, because there are multiple rumors about why they had to do it. And the main one is that they didn't have enough capital to even sell. Essentially, people couldn't buy the GameStop stocks because Robinhood didn't own any in the first place. People bought them all already.
Yeah.
But then there's the conspiracy, rumor. It's not even a conspiracy, because of their middleman company, Citadel. Citadel's under fire because they're involved with Melvin Capital. And Melvin Capital is this big hedge fund that's losing all this money, or lost it already.
Like you said with the market manipulation thing, the causing a stock price to go up or down on purpose, isn't that like exactly what hedge funds do? Isn't that their purpose? Isn't their whole goal to drive it down till they get it at a lower price? Or
yeah, that is the goal, but there's a very specific rule about
protected
shorting
somehow from that.
Fun fact: you can't short onions. I don't know how it works, but shorting started way back before electronic shareholding, and it was done because of paper. The reason you were able to do it is because you couldn't instantly transact. And I don't know the details on how all of this stuff works. But now, because everything's instant, yeah, they can drive the stock price down. But it counts as being legal because shorting is legal. But Robinhood purposefully not allowing you to buy may be market manipulation. It might not be their fault, but they're probably still going to get sued. And I mean, they are. Whether they have to pay or not, I don't know.
Yeah. Just to understand just how many people bought GameStop stock, Robinhood has 13 million users. I saw a number yesterday that over half owned at least some GameStop stock.
And I guarantee that number would have been higher, but you can't buy it anymore.
Yeah.
You're limited to, I believe, 2 shares now, but it was closed for a full day. And the price of GameStop itself, a couple months ago, even, it was $4.
Yeah.
$4. And just because people, quote unquote, like the stock, as that's a fight against SEC regulation, but it's gone up to, I've seen over 350, I think.
325, I want to say. I'll look real quick.
And there's been all sorts of, maybe not articles, but talk about people trying to get it to hit $500-$600, but we're kind of stuck at what? 312 right now. And the whole idea of buy and hold, it hasn't, like, it's moved after Robinhood had to close it, but since then it hasn't moved at all.
Yesterday it didn't. It was pretty stable all day. Kind of weird.
I've seen a few articles about people who are cashing in on it, people that just happen to own GameStop stocks.
Yeah.
And there's been a few new millionaires, and I just saw a post today of somebody with a net gain of 60 grand. But they're still holding.
Really?
Anyway, just to support. It's essentially free money at the expense of the hedge funds that are going bankrupt,
Yeah.
of course.
So it was a joke in some ways, but a lot of it came from spite for hedge funds and led by world-renowned hedge fund critic / supervillain Elon Musk. So just his push drove it up almost $100 the other day, and same thing for Bitcoin too.
Well, so I will say Elon Musk doesn't really have that much to do with the start of it, but he has helped it a lot.
Yeah.
So he had nothing to do with starting the movement. I mean, he's the world's richest man. He doesn't want to lose everything. But all these people involved in this GameStop, they say they consider Elon Musk as the working class, not the 1%, which is interesting. This is another topic. Can Elon Musk be accused, maybe, of market manipulation?
I don't know. That's a good point, though.
I don't know if it's market manipulation, but he has a lot of power over the market.
Of insurrection.
No, just incitement of buy this stock now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I might follow Elon Musk on Twitter, and if I see him tweet about literally any stock, I know that the price will go up. So if I see it and I buy as soon as he tweets about it and sell that same day, I will make money, and I'll make a lot.
Yeah.
So he causes these bubbles, but they do level out. Give it a few days. But I mean, he tweeted, now this is old news at this point, but he tweeted use Signal, and then a completely unrelated stock jumped like 1,000% that day.
Yeah.
And Dogecoin, like it was worth 0.2 of a cent, went up to 8 cents or 6 cents. I think it's 8 though. I saw 8.
Really? I saw 6. I don't know.
But Robinhood's not letting people buy crypto right now either. Their capital is like completely out. Like they can't give you any instant deposits. So if you don't know, Robinhood lets you have money immediately when you want to buy a stock, even without your bank transfer coming in until a few days later. So with this whole GameStop thing, they've completely run out of money. And so they're limiting buys right now. You can still have instant deposits on stocks though, but no cryptocurrencies. And I think that hurt Dogecoin's kind of a joke, but it did jump up a lot. But you can't buy on Robinhood, which is what most average casual investors would use, I'd say.
Yeah. I saw a number that said the average portfolio has $1,000 to $5,000 in it, so it's mainly used by smaller investors compared to Charles Schwab, who averages $250,000, which is a pretty big gap.
$250,000 per, like, not per person, but the average that a person has is $250,000. That's great. Maybe I should use that. Charles Schwab. That's actually what I believe USAA has transferred to. They used to have their own investments, but they do it through that now. Robinhood is going to lose a lot of support and customers after this. And I don't even think all of it was their fault, but they definitely handled it in the worst way they could have.
Yeah.
But this is probably old news, so we'll move on. Although I'm ready to see if GameStop hits like a crazy number. I'd say the number it's hit already is high enough for it to work. We have three more stories. The plan for Guantanamo Bay inmates to receive COVID-19 vaccinations has now been halted after backlash from multiple sources. The backlash comes from most Americans having not yet received the vaccine. Biden apparently prioritizing the needs of Guantanamo Bay inmates over those of the average American. Now, this is very critical of Biden, but it's basically saying the American people have not received vaccines yet, and they should be the first people to receive them. But there have been plans for these prison inmates who, according to some people, of these lesser people, which is not, I guess, a good thing to say on social media, but it does give leaves a bad taste, because it seems like you're being left out for somebody that's, I don't know, murdered somebody, maybe.
Yeah, over a nursing home patient, somebody that is very vulnerable. Not that they're not. I'm sure there's a lot of crowded spaces there, but you got to take care of your elderly before prisoners, I believe, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for the prisons to get them, but they shouldn't be the first.
Yeah.
Although, sure, there are prison conditions that are very bad, but honestly, I mean, I don't know anything about the insides of prisons, so I can't say how sanitary they are against a virus, but I would like my family to get it before a criminal, honestly.
Yeah. I wonder, was that one of his 40 executive orders he signed? Or was that just an announcement? Or
I'm not sure.
Because it was shut down by the Pentagon, wasn't it?
Yep. The Pentagon halted the plan today.
An easier way to study hard is here with Bartleby Learn. Bartleby offers unlimited...
Oops, I just played an ad from, I believe, NBC. I don't know if it was an executive order or not. I don't think it was an executive order, but he did release the, what was it called? It wasn't exactly a stimulus plan, but that whole relief bill, I think it was part of that.
Okay. It was the thing where he said we're going to get X amount out by this date and that kind of thing. I think that's the one it came from, because he said we were trying to get what, I don't remember the number, but we were trying to get this amount done by a certain date.
I do know that we have already done 100 million vaccines, but it's 2 doses, so it only has gotten 50 million people.
Yeah. Apparently the second dose is the worst too, I hear.
Worst for your reaction?
Yeah, like it takes a toll on you more than the first one did.
I guess the first one is kind of the preparation. I bet if you took the second one, I'm no scientist.
Without the first one?
If you took the second one without the first one, it would probably make you sick. I don't know if it would fully give you the virus, but I'm sure it would not be good to do.
Yeah.
So let's hope the officials keep them numbered. And I had a thought, but we haven't really heard anything about new vaccines yet. I know I just saw an article about Germany is going to get some.
You said we had 100 million doses already distributed.
Yeah,
I wonder how we're doing compared to other countries. Like, are we doing it the fastest, or is per?
I don't know, but I know it's going to be really hard to compare because we just have so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, surely, China, India, and Russia, whatnot, they have super big populations. So they're going to really struggle. I don't know how India could possibly give out that many people. But in terms of ratio of doses to population, I'd say we're probably not the best because there are so many countries that are so small.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we're doing a terrible job because we are prioritizing, or at least we were prioritizing, people over other people. So like I think healthcare workers were supposed to be getting them.
Yeah, and then it went like 80 and up, 65 and up.
I think it was healthcare workers, maybe teachers. I'm not sure if that was they wanted it to be, or if that's what actually happened. But I would rather a teacher get it before an inmate.
Yeah.
And not to be mistaken, if you commit a crime, that doesn't mean you're never going to receive the vaccine. But Guantanamo Bay specifically is high security.
Yeah, it's for the
It's
high-profile criminals go.
It's not where the bad people go. It's where the worst people go.
Yeah.
So, should they be treated worse than a normal person? No, but we should prioritize the people that need it first. And dare I say, the people that deserve it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to... This story is super recent. Poland has banned abortion under all circumstances except cases of rape, incest, or if the pregnancy is a threat to the mother's life. And it has started multiple large protests. I think there's been a protest going on for 3 days now in major parts of the country.
It's kind of, Poland now is kind of the black sheep in Europe. Like if you look at a map of where abortions are unrestricted compared to those with certain qualifications, it stands out pretty well. Pretty much every European country is unrestricted, along with Russia and North America and Australia.
If you apply American politics, Poland is a far-right country.
Yeah.
As of now, at least. I'm not sure about the EU exactly, but I know that they're not Poland. But there are only a few countries that completely ban abortion, and most of them are for religious purposes.
Mm-hmm. A lot of them are Catholic countries, like
like
Central
Poland.
America and South America. Yeah. Oh, Poland is Catholic?
Poland is Catholic.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
And then, like you said, all of Central and South America, besides very small portions, and a lot of Africa as well, correct?
Yeah, the majority of Africa is. Around 87% of Poland is Catholic.
That's a lot.
So, wow. Yeah. Where it's a lot of countries that Poland's following the same standards are Central America, South America, the majority of Africa, and Southern Asia.
Just to curious, or do you have the map?
Yeah,
up
I'm
that you
looking
can
at it
see?
right now.
What was China? It's just
China
nothing?
we don't know. It doesn't say here.
And there's only a few countries that completely allow abortion, right?
Yeah,
In the U.S. and what?
It's Russia, Australia, most of Europe minus Poland, and UK. UK is restricted some ways.
Probably the same as most, threat to the life.
Yeah.
And
That's what most of them are like. North America, Russia, Australia, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, places like that. The big places really are the ones that are totally unrestricted.
There are less that allow abortion than I thought.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that there were so few.
Yeah.
Until today. The more you learn. Yeah. Last story. It's a small one. This is information we've probably already known, but it wasn't official at the time. Masks have been required on government property, right?
Yeah.
That was last week. This week, masks. The CDC has ordered masks required to be worn on all public transport, not only within the U.S. but anything going into the U.S., such as planes or trains. And I think this is fine. And it includes all public transport as well. There's like a few, maybe, exceptions that it said, but planes, boats, buses, all of it, masks are required. I don't know what the legality of that is. I think it was an executive order that actually passed it, because the article we read says the CDC ordered it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they can do that, or if it had to be done through an executive order.
That sounds like an executive order. Probably a recommendation by the CDC followed up with a executive order.
So what if you don't?
What if you don't? That'd just be up to whatever they wrote in the law, I guess. Like around.
It's probably a fine.
Yeah, like local here is a fine. A lot of places, I don't know if you get really worse than that, but probably a fine if I had to guess. And maybe a suspension of public travel. I have no idea.
It's related, but it's interesting. Maybe a fun side effect of this is that through the fines, it could literally just be more money for the city.
And I wonder, just a thought, where's that money going to, you know? What do you think they're putting that towards?
What they're putting it towards, what I think they're putting it towards, is probably nothing good, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the least useful stuff possible. But what would be good, honestly, roads. I would love roads to be great. Just wherever I went, not have to worry about hitting a pothole. That would be nice. Because, I mean, look, take all the money in the fines, give it to the healthcare workers. Now, that's a whole, socialist, whatever you want to call it. But it's like, hey, the money should go somewhere useful.
Mm-hmm.
Use the money to buy the vaccines.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, people are already not happy about not so much having to wear a mask, but being forced to wear a mask. Now, being fined for not wearing the mask, I think it would maybe help a little bit if they knew where the money was going from their fine, I mean.
But see, then, if they start wearing the mask, then they don't receive the money.
Yeah.
So that might, if they knew that it was going to a good source, people would stop wearing masks.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people do that, but it would be somebody's rational thinking to stop wearing a mask to help a healthcare worker.
Yeah. Take one for the team.
And that's it for the week. The biggest thing was GameStop. There hasn't really been much else. We've had some executive orders, but all of them have been coronavirus and immigration related, and we kind of covered that last week. Nothing else major has been going on. Nothing political. There have been plenty of small stories, but nothing that really affects the average American.
Yeah. Really slow week.
And I don't know what time we're tracking here. I can't see. I think we're right at 50 minutes. So this one lasted longer than expected. We did want to be hitting an hour per podcast, but this week was slow. Not too many things to cover. Can't tell you about next week. But the podcast should be coming out weekly every, I believe, Sundays is what we're doing. We record Saturday, put out Sunday. So thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next week.